Preferences. Well, there's extensive help in the preferences, which you can access under the help button there. But I'm just going to run through these for your convenience. Display phoneme. If you have this set on and you have parts of the lesson where there are phonemes over the words, they will be seen. Here we see on this title here we have phoneme here, and if we go to our settings and turn that off, then the phoneme now has gone from that title. Turn it back on, and it's back on that title. The next preference is lesson pause, and what this does is it pauses at the end of a lesson. So if I turn that on and I go back here, go right to the end of a lesson.
Rework sequence 2E at least once more, then go back and review all of part 2 before continuing.
So it's paused the lesson. It gives you an option to either redo the lesson with this sort of recycle button, or we can just step on to the previous, to the next lesson.
Part 3.
That's stepping on.
2E at least once more, then go back and review all of part 2 before continuing.
If I redo it,
Sequence 2E.
and then it's replaying that one lesson. This gives you the opportunity to run through a lesson a couple of times before stepping on quite easily. Autoplay. Autoplay means when you launch the application or you're stepping through, it will automatically play. For instance, if you go to and from settings. So if I turn autoplay off and I go back to the lesson, it's not playing.
Now in different
I have to start it playing.
This one off.
If I turn autoplay back on,
Now in different
it'll start where it left off.
This one off.
Turn autoplay off. Doesn't, so you get to choose where you're going. Tutor narrative allows you to remove a lot of the contextual information that the tutor is giving that may not be necessary when you come to review. Tutor narrative allows you to remove a lot of the extra information that the tutor is telling you that is unnecessary when you just want to simply review a lesson once you are fairly confident with the accent. So with tutor narrative on, you'll see this lesson is quite long, and if we go here and turn tutor narrative off, you'll see that now the lesson is much shorter, and it's just giving you the key instructions and the recordable phrases for you to record. In the recording section of the preferences, there's an option to change the number of recordings that it keeps when you are doing recording. So, for instance, if I have "he's grown a lot" here, he's grown a lot. He's grown a lot.
A rock, or he's grown a lot.
He's grown a lot.
A rock.
So there we have, I recorded "he's grown a lot" 3 times. And that was in part 2 sequence E. So I'm going to go back to part 2 sequence E. He's grown a lot. So if I click on that, we have 3 recordings. 1, 2, 3. And we can listen to those.
He's grown a lot. He's grown a lot. He's grown a lot.
Now if I go back to here and I say I only actually want to keep 2 recordings, I can drop that back. It says, oh, you're going to delete some of your recordings. And this saves memory on your phone, but it really doesn't use that much memory anyway. But just to show you, there's now only 2 recordings there. So it deletes the most elderly one, the oldest one. This enables you, if there's a particular phrase that your casting director or your human resource department or that you want to really achieve, it allows you to try it a number of times, and the recordings are kept for you. If you find yourself unable to immediately say things very quickly, you can extend the recording time here, and what that does, it just adds an extra sort of 30% to the amount of time you're given to record the phrase, over and above the time it would actually take to say that phrase. Compressed recordings, if you have it in this state with compression off, it's still it's still a small file, but it's essentially nearly uncompressed. On iOS it is effectively uncompressed. If you turn the compressed recordings on, it does compress it, so it's a smaller file to email to people, but even still, it's extremely high quality on both iOS and Android. You actually have the option to not make recordings, so if you don't want to have the hassle of making the recordings, but just able to say the words, then you can turn the recordings process off, and you can even kill the beep, so you don't have the beep at the time of recording. So I'm just going to show you that.
He's grown a lot.
He's grown a lot.
A rock wall.
A rock wall.
We saw the show.
So you notice the recording light didn't come on, it didn't beep, and so on. Sometimes you actually might want to be saying things without having the annoying beep. You might find it annoying after a while. So you can actually turn the beep off but still have recordings on. And you just cue yourself by looking at when the recording light's on. So I'm just going to show you that.
He's grown a lot.
He's grown a lot.
A rock wall.
A rock wall.
We saw.
There's also the option to have a quick review. Now, what a quick review does is it gives you an immediate playback of what you've just recorded. That way you can see if you've made what you think is a good attempt at repeating the phrase that you're being asked to say. So let's just try that.
A rock wall.
A rock wall.
Rock wall. We saw the show.
We saw the show.
Saw the show.
There you go. And if you didn't like what you'd done, the recording wasn't good enough, you didn't think it was good enough, you could then just immediately record again and keep doing that until you're happy with that recording. And bearing in mind, it always keeps, even if you've just got one recording in your settings here, it always keeps the most recent recording. So if you keep recording until you're happy and move on, it'll always have the last one recorded. Then when you're reviewing your recordings in the Recordings tab, you have this option to compare to tutor. So if I turn that off and go to here and listen to a recording, it just says what I said. But if I go and turn on compare to tutor,
He's grown a lot.
there we go, we get an idea of, how we compare to the tutor. If we want to clear out all the recordings, we want to start afresh and just do a new batch of recordings, just click clear and it clears all your recordings. And that essentially is the preferences.